Hi everyone. This is my first time going live on YouTube. This is definitely an interesting experience. I went for my first time live on Facebook, um, and it was a nice experience. So yeah, I'm going to do that again later today. But I wanted to come on here just for a few moments to share with you guys some information. So when I did my Facebook Live, someone had asked about anxiety and grief. And so I wanted to come on here just a few minutes to talk about anxiety and grief, and hopefully the information is beneficial. So a lot of people don't realize that secondary losses play a huge role in people experiencing anxiety after a loss. So let's talk about primary losses and secondary losses. So primary loss is an initial loss that brings the pain. Um, and then secondary losses are also known as hidden losses. That happens after the initial loss. And many times it pops up much later down the road. And when we think about it, that's when we have anxiety. So let's break it down a little bit more. For example, let's say a teenager loses their mother. So the primary loss would be the loss of the mom. The secondary loss would be changes in how maybe they relate to their friends. Another example would be a graduation. Maybe they see other friends experiencing happiness, but they don't experience the happiness. So they have this void that's there. Another example is a mother who loses her husband, and she's a mother of two. So the primary loss would be the loss of the husband. The secondary loss would be her recognizing that now she's the sole breadwinner. So she has to figure out all the financial situation. She has to pay all the bills. So there's that void that's missing. There's also many times friends may not know how to talk to her anymore. So she may not talk to friends as much. And another void is brought on. The last example I'll share is somebody losing their job. So the primary loss is losing a job. The secondary loss would be them not seeing their colleagues at work anymore, them having a loss of income, and them maybe losing their self confidence. A lot of people wrap their confidence in with their job, and that's a part of their identity for many. So they lose a part of their identity. So that's the difference between primary loss and secondary loss. So how does anxiety play a role in this? What happens is whenever secondary losses are thought about. So for example, let's say the person who loses their job, they start thinking about, man, I'm going to miss my colleagues. What if they forget about me? I might feel lonely. I might become lonely. And that's where the anxiety starts bubbling up because they start thinking about the secondary losses. Same thing with the mom who lost her husband, and she has two little ones now. And so her thoughts might be about, oh my goodness, what about bills? And so she starts thinking about that secondary loss, now having to manage the bills, manage all the financial situations, and that anxiety will start popping up for her. And so those are examples of primary losses and secondary losses, and that's how anxiety plays a role, and that's how anxiety pops up whenever secondary losses are thought about. So the question is, how do we handle anxiety? How do we handle those moments where we think about, man, what's going to happen about this? What's going to happen if that happens, or something doesn't work out in the future? So it's all about our capacity. We all have different levels of capacity. Some people can handle a little, some people can handle a lot. So it's important for you to identify just how much you can handle in life. And that takes trial and error. It does. But once you figure out your capacity, it's important to be able to delegate. So, for example, the mom who lost her husband. And so she's thinking about the financial situation. So she might have the capacity to budget, but she may not have the capacity to actually call all the places and set up automatic payments. So she might have someone in her support system, maybe a sibling or a best friend, come for the first few months to kind of sit with her and help her work through all the different bills that need to be paid. So that's an example of how we can work through our anxiety. We face it head on, identify what needs to be done, and then we sit down and figure out, what do I have the capacity for, and what do I need to maybe bring somebody in to kind of give me some help on this. Another thing that helps is giving our brain a break. Whenever someone passes away or we experience a loss, there's a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts that run over in our mind. And sometimes it's hard to manage those thoughts. So one thing that we can do is take a break. So some people might turn to meditation. Some people turn to prayer, which is a type of meditation. Some people might work out. Some people turn to something artistic, such as drawing or painting or crocheting. And so it's all about getting engrossed in an activity, getting your mind off of those future things that's going to be happening and just being in the present moment to help give your brain a break. The last thing I'm going to share with you guys is some resources. So it's all about finding a support system. And sometimes we don't have a support system. We don't have people in our corner that can give us those words of encouragement or that can help us when we might need help paying bills and we're just feeling overwhelmed. And so I encourage you to turn to a mental health therapist. I know I've been able to help several of my clients who's experienced financial challenges and they just felt overwhelmed. So we sat down, we looked through their bills, and we figured out what can we pay, what we have to put on the back burner for now, and that's what it's about. Is finding someone that can give you support. So I encourage you to go check out Psychology Today. That's an excellent resource that I refer a lot of people to. For those of you who might be like myself, African American, and want to find an African American therapist, there's Therapy for Black Girls. An amazing website that has it broken down in different states. So you just type in your zip code, the state that you're in, and then yeah, different therapists will pop up for you. So hopefully this information was helpful. Definitely leave some comments if you guys want other topics discussed. And I definitely hope you guys all have an amazing day and be sure to live in your greatness.